Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to episode 4 of the Slumpbuster Fantasy Football Podcast with Aris Blakeney, recording here on Sunday, September 15th, 2019. Aris is back again to break down everything that happened in Week 2, catch you up to speed on the waiver wire, and basically help your fantasy team. Welcome in and enjoy.
Well, guys, you win some, you lose some, and then there's other days where you just lose them all. Today is unfortunately one of those days. I'm going to lose in my pick'em pool. The Chargers lost, and I'm going to lose in all 3 of my fantasy leagues. To make it even worse, one of the leagues, my family league, I'm going to lose to my mother. She's going to rub it in all week long. I don't know what I'm going to do this week. This is just, it's a terrible, terrible start to the week. Sunday is supposed to be a fun day, but then fantasy goes ahead and just ruins everything for you. So this is going to be the quickest podcast ever. Like, rate, review, subscribe, everything. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Slumpbuster Pod, Slumpbuster FFB, the Slumpbuster Fantasy Football Podcast, theslumpbuster.com. And yeah, I'm out. Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually have to do my job, guys. So let's get into some game breakdowns to get my mind off of losing, because that's always a terrible place to be in your mind. So let's start off with some NFC home games. Let's go with the Packers and the Vikings. Packers won this one 21-16. Rodgers had a pretty good day, 22 for 34. He went 209 yards, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones came out to play, went 23 rushes, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams had a good day, 7 catches, 106 yards. Let's see who else had a big day. I know Geronimo Allison finally got into the game with some catches. He went 4 catches, 25 yards, 1 touchdown. Jamal Williams is going to be a handcuff. Pretty much nobody has him yet, but he went 3 catches, 13 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 carries, 28 yards, no touchdowns on the ground. So pretty decent game for the Packers. It did come down to the wire, that's for sure. Vikings should have won this game, but there was a couple penalties that hindered them from doing so. Kirk Cousins actually threw the ball more than 10 times. He threw it 32 times, so that's really good to see fantasy standpoint. He went 14 of 32, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, but he had 2 picks. Dalvin Cook is continuing his case for the best back in the league. He went 20 carries, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and then added 3 catches for 37 yards. So he went over almost 200 yards in total. So, I mean, this guy, last week he went 111 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns This week he goes 158 and 1 touchdown. So he's definitely making his case to be the best back in the league. Adam Thielen went 5 catches for 75 yards. And then Stephon Diggs had 1 catch, 49 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's a little surprising to see. He did have 7 targets. He did have a touchdown called back. So 1 catch, you don't really like, but you do like that touchdown if you did start him. And otherwise, it was pretty, NFC North game. Nothing really exciting happened. Just a good divisional matchup there. Next game, we're going to go to the Giants and the Bills. Bills won this one 28-14. Man, I like Josh Allen. I like this kid a lot. He went 19 for 30, 253 yards, 1 touchdown. Then he also added 7 carries for 21 yards and a 1 touchdown. The 1 rushing touchdown was a designed run. So coming out of college, nobody really thought of him as a runner, but he's developing into a dual threat quarterback. So let's kind of see how this plays out. I do like him, not necessarily as a starting quarterback, but if, bye weeks happen, injuries happen. There were a couple big injuries to quarterbacks. He's going to be a nice little filler until you get those, top tiers back. But he might develop into a top tier, 250 yards and a touchdown. That's pretty decent fantasy-wise. So if he can continue to develop and, the Bills bring people around him, should turn out to have a nice little career. Frank Gore, ageless Frank Gore, still out there running around, 3 yards per carry. He had 19 carries, 68 yards, and 1 touchdown. And David Singletary, who I project is going to take over this backfield, by mid-season, rushed it for 6 times for 57 yards, and he had a touchdown as well. John Brown had 7 catches for 72 yards, no touchdowns. And then Cole Beasley had 4 catches for 83 yards. Those are going to be your top 2 guys there. Nobody's really going to try to pick up Isaiah McKenzie. He did have 2 catches for 40 yards and 1 touchdown. So we're not really looking at him just yet. Zay Jones, people thought would probably take over this, receiving core, only had 1 catch for 14 yards. He did have 3 targets. But like I said, John Brown's going to be the guy here. 7 catches, 72 yards. That touchdown will come. He did have one last week. But it looks like now they're actually starting to work on those, move the chain catches, move the chain drives, instead of just trying to get him to go over the top, turn him into an actual number 1. And then the Giants side, they're the Giants right now. They're kind of in limbo. Eli Manning went 26 for 45, 250 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. Watching this game, he was off the mark. It is really, just time tells until Daniel Jones comes in and takes over this. It will happen sometime this year. I don't see Eli Manning finishing the year as the Giants quarterback. I do see Daniel Jones now, based off of this week's performance, because Eli Manning was just missing guys. It was not very good. Saquon, though, had 18 carries, 107 yards, and 1 touchdown. I feel bad for this guy. If he was on a better offense, he would have a lot better numbers. But for some reason, the Giants are going to giant, and they don't have any receivers. They don't have a quarterback that can really, throw the ball downfield, so everybody's just stacking the box. So hopefully they can get this man some help. But until then, this is going to be that typical Saquon stat line. Hopefully he can have some bigger games for you this year. But I don't really see that happening just because the Giants' offense is kind of lackluster. On the receiving side, Evan Ingram went 6 catches for 48 yards. Benny Fowler actually led the team in receptions and yardage. He got, just yardage, he went 5 for 51. And then TJ Jones had 3 catches for 38 yards, 1 touchdown. There's really nobody on that receiving core that would threaten anybody. We'll see how Golden Tate does when he comes back from his suspension. That might open up the offense a little bit more. But we just never know with these guys. They're, until they figure out what they're going to do with Eli, they're just going to be stuck in this, bottom of the rung, bottom of the league matchups. All righty, now on to Dallas at Washington. Yeah, pretty decent game. The Cowboys' offense is prolific with a question mark. This offense looks a lot different than the one they've ran in the past. They're actually opening up lanes for Dak to throw in. Dak ran the ball a couple times. This could get interesting down the road, especially with now all these Eagles players are getting hurt. the Cowboys might have an easier path to the NFC East championship. But Dak went 26 of 30, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He threw an interception in the first quarter, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's Dak. He's going to regress. And then after that, he just went off. So, yeah, I might have to eat my words on Dak Prescott. I didn't think he would be that good of a quarterback this year, and he is developing into a really good quarterback, top 10 in the league. Zeke had a Zeke day. He had 23 carries, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. And he also added 2 catches for 9 yards. Like I said, Dak did run the ball a little bit more in this one. He had 5 carries for 69 yards. And then, man, Jason Witten, again, with the slow touchdown. This time it was like 2 yards, and it took forever again. He went 4 catches, 25 yards, and 1 touchdown. This guy might actually be a streamer this year. He's going to get you 4 catches, and now it looks like they're actually using him in the red zone. So you might actually get a couple touchdowns out of this guy. Amari Cooper had a so-so day, 4 catches, 44 yards. He did save it with a touchdown. Like I said last week, Michael Gallup did regress a little bit. 6 catches for 68 yards, no touchdowns. And that's really about it. None of these other guys are really going to pick up and stream. Maybe Randall Cobb for injuries and bye weeks. He had 5 catches for 24 yards. And then on the Redskins side, Case Keenum went 26 of 37, 221 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy, like I said last week, I'm sorry for saying that you weren't that good because you really weren't that good last year. But you actually came out to play. So, Case Keenum, again, I'm very sorry for that. Continue to ball out, bruh. Maybe I'll stream you on a bye week because Matt Ryan has like 3 picks right now. He's kind of pissing me off. So I might need another quarterback. Might be looking your way. And on the rushing side, Adrian Peterson, he went into 5th place all time for running backs for touchdowns with the touchdown today, passing Jim Brown. He went 10 carries, 25 yards, and that touchdown. This guy has defied all odds. When he tore his ACL, they said that it'd take him a year to come back. It took him 8 months. So this guy is another species. He is on another level. This guy, Adrian Peterson, good job today. Hopefully you could get a little bit more yards rushing next time. But we do like that touchdown. Glad you got past Jim Brown. Awesome for you. And on the receiving side, McLaurin, I'm still trying to learn how to say that. I think it's McLaurin. He went 5 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. He led the team in targets with 9. He tied for the team lead in receptions with Chris Thompson in 5. So he might be the guy in this offense to own, to stream. I know a lot of people picked him up last week after the breakout game he had. So if he's still available and you have a spot for him, definitely pick him up. He's looking like he's going to be the number 1 option out there in Washington. Other than that, Chris Thompson had a decent game, 5 catches for 48 yards. He also carried the ball twice for 3 yards. We'll see how that backfield shapes out, if they're going to just kind of run the ball with Adrian Peterson or if they're going to go into a timeshare. If they go into a timeshare, Adrian Peterson is definitely going to be hurt by this. But if they don't, Peterson can have those breakout games where he has 100 yards. He did a couple last year. But otherwise, I feel like he's just going to be, touchdown-dependent running back that we kind of saw last year where, you didn't have a good day unless he had that fluke game of 100 yards or he had the touchdowns. So be wary if you pick him up. Next game we're going to go to is the Saints at the Rams. This game was hyped up because of the call last year, and there was a questionable call again this year. Fumble on Jared Goff. Saints picked it up, ran it 75 yards back to the house, but they called the play dead. Called it actually incomplete. They had to review it, and since they blew the play dead on the field, guess what? Saints fans are mad. They're already started another petition to sue the league. These guys won't get past that. But the big news out of this game was Drew Brees left with a thumb injury. He's actually staying behind in LA to get that checked out. That it actually looked bad. They showed a replay of him on the sideline trying to pick up a ball. He couldn't even squeeze the ball to lift it all the way up. So he might be done. We'll see the severity when he has this MRI, probably more on Monday or Tuesday from the team. But if it is a ligament, he's going to be done for the year and may even be done possibly for his career. He has had a Hall of Fame career. So we'll just kind of see how this plays out over the next couple of days. And if he is gone, the whole Saints roster is going to get a huge knock. Teddy Bridgewater is going to come in, start for them. They do have faith in him, but I don't yet. He did go 17 of 30, 165 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. Kind of didn't really move the ball after Drew left. So their Super Bowl chances are definitely going to take a hit. I don't see them getting to the Super Bowl without Drew Brees. They'll even have a hard time making the playoffs without him. Kamara had 13 carries, 45 yards, no touchdowns. He added one catch for 15 yards, no touchdowns, which for Kamara is a huge letdown. Mike Thomas had 10 catches for 89 yards, no touchdowns. This was just, if you had a Saints player, you were going into this matchup very excited. And then after Drew went down, you're kind of just wincing because, it's going to be a rough year for all those Saints players now. On the Rams side, I like to see this. Gurley got a little bit more touches this week. Last week he had 14 total. This week he had 16 carries, 63 yards, and a touchdown. And then he added 3 catches for 4 yards. I still think they're hiding something from us, though. This is just, something's up with Gurley. I don't know why they're hiding him for some reason, but there's still something wrong with that knee that they're not telling us, or it's worse than what they originally told us. I like this, though. My guy, Cooper Kupp, 5 catches, 120 yards, and he had a touchdown. But after replay, he was literally 3 inches short. I could have used that touchdown today, but I didn't get it. I'm kind of mad. Brandon Cooks had a little bit better day, 3 catches, 74 yards, and he did have that touchdown. Jared Goff went 19 for 28, 283 yards, and 1 touchdown. But really the only thing people are going to be talking about from this game is going to be that Drew Brees injury. How is that thumb? What's wrong with that thumb? This is going to shake up the whole NFC playoff picture. It's going to shake up the whole roster for the Saints. I mean, if this is a career-ending injury, if he does have to have surgery, he's 40 now. So does he come back next year? Does he try to come back this year? This is just going to be such big news. Everybody kind of needs to follow this, especially if you have a Saint on your team. Michael Thomas being the number one guy. I'm definitely going to be worried because I have Thomas on one of my leagues. So it's going to be rough. And now I am obligated to talk about this game, even though I don't want to. I hate the Chargers so much, but I love them so much. They can never make anything easy for me. Everything always has to be difficult with them. They lost today 10-13. I hate the Chargers, but I love them. But they make my Sundays extremely difficult. Nothing can ever be easy for them. It seems like we live down 7 with the ball at the end of the game. That's just how it seems all the time. And today was no different. We were down 3 with the ball with like 2 minutes left in the game. And, of course, Rivers throws a pick because he was keying on Keenan Allen when he did have a wide-open Mike Williams. But, I mean, you can't fault him. Keenan Allen is a beast. But when there's 3 people around Keenan Allen and nobody around Mike Williams, you kind of got to throw to Mike Williams. And, yeah, they lost. 1-1. Next week we go to Jacksonville. Or no, we go to Houston, actually. And it's going to be a rough one. I mean, we lost Adrian Phillips on our secondary. Mike Williams is still banged up. Hunter Henry's banged up. Still no Melvin Gordon. We'll kind of see. But next week I might be somber as well, guys. Just saying. Watch out. Pray for me. Do all those things. Thoughts and prayers. Send them my way. Might go cry myself to sleep tonight because it was a rough day. Let's get into the stats now. Matt Stafford went 22 for 30, 245 yards, 2 TDs, and 2 picks. One pick was a pretty crazy pick. Let's see. So they were in the back of the end zone. Galladay threw down Casey Hayward, swatted the ball because Casey was about to pick it. And unfortunately, he swatted it right to Casey. And we got the pick, so that was a cool play, but we still freaking lost, so ultimately it didn't matter. Kerryon Johnson went 12 carries, 41 yards, but he added 2 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. I did like to see that we can actually stop the run now, because last year it was laughable. We could not stop the run one bit. But now it seems like we can stop the pass today. Galladay had 8 catches, 117 yards, and 1 touchdown. And the only other guy really, TJ Hawkinson you'd have on your team as well. He went 1 catch for 7 yards. Like I said last week, the Chargers are pretty good against the tight end position historically, so I didn't have, big guesses for him. I thought he would have, a slower day than he had last week, and of course he did, because Chargers, for some reason, that's like the one position they can't stop is tight end. And then Marvin Jones went 5 catches for 43 yards. So not too bad. He's still going to be a flex player for you. Injury, bye week, replacement, those types of things. Now let's kind of break down the Chargers. Philip Rivers went 21 for 36, 293 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 pick. I will say right now we did have a touchdown called back on penalty, so we should have won this game, guys. Step up, be better. Austin Eckler, though, continued his case for one of the best, or actually he continued his case to be considered a RB1. He had 17 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. And then this is why the Chargers love him so much. He added 6 catches for 67 yards. He is kind of ruining Melvin Gordon's holdout and making a case for himself at the same time. I don't know what they're going to do. He is on his 3rd year now, so he has 2 more years on his contract. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we can keep him because pound for pound, the Chargers do say he is the strongest player on the team, and he shows it in some of his runs. His balance is awesome. His elusiveness is awesome. His burst is awesome. Hopefully we can keep him And then Justin Jackson had 7 carries, 59 yards for 8 yards a carry. If they need to feed this man the ball more, they will. Game script just hasn't allowed it yet. So I do expect him to have bigger games in the future. Game script pending that. But I mean, Justin Jackson he's got some juice in him. And receiving wise, Mike Williams went into the day questionable. They said they were only going to use him in goal line, short yardage, red zone, third down situations, and they actually used him a lot more. He had 3 catches for 83 yards. He had a beautiful diving catch, set up a field goal. If we did have our field goal kicker, we probably would have won, but he's out with an injury, and we had our punter kicking. He did miss a field goal, so there's that as well. Maybe we just need to sign a kicker. Anthony Lynn, I know you're listening. Just sign a kicker or get the money badge. Get him healthy for us because, man, I'm tired of all these kicking problems. I really am. And Josh Lambo's over here, hasn't missed a field goal all year. And when he was with us, man, he missed everything. I don't know what it is about the Chargers and kickers. They hate us, apparently. We're cursed. I don't know. But death, taxes, Chargers kicker problems, and Chargers key players getting hurt. Those are all things that always happen. Life of a Chargers fan. Keenan Allen, though, with 8 catches, 98 yards. He had a typical Keenan Allen day. He was bullying Darius Slay. Darius Slay is a Pro Bowl caliber DB, and Keenan Allen bullied him. Like I said, this guy's route running is beautiful. If not the best, one of the best route runners in the league. It's just dirty. You guys need to watch his route running. I'm sorry, but he is slept on. Tired of the disrespect. But yeah, it is what it is. All right, last NFC home game is the Tampa Bay Bucks at the Carolina Panthers. If you did like I did and started Christian McCaffrey, I'm sorry. That was a terrible game. Maybe it was a short week. Maybe it was the thing that Cam dressed up. I'm pretty sure you've seen the memes that he looks like Cynthia from the Rugrats. He looks like he wants to speak to your manager. My personal favorite is he looked like Scooby-Doo trying to get on the plane to Spooky Island. But they did not look good. They looked off. Cam had 25 of 51, 330 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. Christian McCaffrey had 16 carries for 37 yards, added 2 catches for 16 yards. It was a rough day. Receiving side, DJ Moore had 9 catches for 89 yards. Greg Olsen, I like to see this. He finally, he looks healthy. He had 6 catches for 110 yards. And then Curtis Samuel had 5 catches for 91 yards. But, yeah, man, it just didn't look good. Don't know what's going on, but just didn't look good. On the Bucs side now, Jameis went 16 of 25, 208 yards, and 1 touchdown, no picks. And then the backfield, it's still, they keep saying that Ronald Jones is going to take over the backfield, but it looks like Peyton Barber is they say he's the starter. They use him as a starter, but everybody's toting Ronald Jones. He actually looks really good out there. He had 4 carries for 9 yards. That doesn't help my case, but there were some stuff called back on penalties. And he looks like the better runner out there. Peyton Barber did have 23 carries for 82 yards, and he did convert a goal line carry for a touchdown. If you drafted Mike Evans, maybe time to look for a trade partner. He had 4 catches for 61 yards. And Chris Godwin, out of nowhere. Last year, he did not look this good. He had 8 catches, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns. In 2 games, he has 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans has none. Chris Godwin's the new number 1 out there. So if you have Mike Evans, find a trade partner, get something you need. Somebody might be dumb enough to trade you for the name. But yeah, this isn't looking good for Mike Evans out in Tampa Bay. So let's go to the AFC home games. I was getting texts all day about how we disrespected this man's team, how we kind of counted them out. And now they're 2-0. Julian, your team's pretty good. Your team's pretty good. Congratulations on being 2-0. They want Cincinnati 41-17. Andy Dalton, kind of came back down to Andy Dalton status. He had a decent game. 17 of 25, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. This backfield, I don't like the situation because you never know who's going to be the hot hand. This week it is Matt Breida, 12 carries, 121 yards, no touchdowns. He did add 1 catch for 11 yards. And then you have Raheem Mostert. He had 13 carries, 83 yards, added 3 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. And then James Wilson Jr., 10 carries, 34 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It does seem like they like Wilson closer to the goal line. He was in all their goal line packages. Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert were more out in the field, between the 20s, running backs, and then Wilson was their goal line guy. Deebo Samuel, finally, I would say it started to come out. Let's see if he can build on this. People were expecting him to be the number 1 receiver out there. 5 catches, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. Goodwin had 3 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. And then Kittle had 3 catches for 54 yards. It doesn't look like he's going to repeat the year he had last year. It looks like he's going to regress a little bit. And it stinks because now he actually has his quarterback, quote unquote, whereas last year he had a rotating, threesome over there throwing him the ball. This year we expected him to have a bigger year, and it's not looking like he's going to. Jimmy GQ, he went 17 of 25, 297. Oh, wow. Scratch that. We're going to restart. All right, guys, let's go into the stats now. Jimmy G had 17 of 25, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. This backfield for the Niners, I don't like it, but I mean they're effective. You never know who the hot hand's going to be. Breida went 12 carries, 121 yards, no touchdowns. He did add 1 catch for 11 yards. Raheem Mostert went 17 carries, 83 yards, no touchdowns, but he did add 3 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown. And then James Wilson Jr. went 10 carries, 34 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It does seem like they like him, James, at being in the goal line area, whereas they like Breida and Mostert a little bit better between the 20s. If you have one of these guys, I mean, they're a solid flex play. But, I mean, you never know. They're going to go with the hot hand in this situation. So, best of luck to you on that. Deebo Samuel finally broke out. Let's see if he continues to show that he could be a top receiver. He went 5 catches on 7 targets, 87 yards, and 1 touchdown. And then Marquise Goodwin had 3 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, that's going to be Goodwin's, ceiling right there. He's going to have 3 catches, whether he turns those 3 catches into 50 yards or 140 yards. He's going to be one of those boomer bust guys. It's just Cincinnati couldn't tackle today, so he had a touchdown. On the Bengals side, like I said, Andy Dalton kind of had an Andy Dalton day. He went 26 for 42, 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Pretty typical stat line for him. And then Joe Mixon coming back from that ankle injury. Didn't really do much. 11 carries, 17 yards, no touchdowns. Added 3 catches for 10 yards, no touchdowns. You were playing him hoping that he was back at full force, and that's two bad weeks in a row for him. Giovanni Bernard did have 6 carries for 6 yards. And then he added 1 catch for 7 yards. So it does look like they were okay with Mixon. But, yeah, hopefully he can get back to, his 100 yards and a touchdown that people drafted him for or traded for him for. But so far it's, been 2 rough weeks. Just stay on it. He'll get back to you guys. Just wait it out. Don't take these two weeks too serious. He will get back on that number 1 back playing field. Tyler Boyd had a pretty good game last week. We were hoping this from him, but instead he only gave us 80 yards. Today he had 10 catches, 122 yards, no touchdowns. So he's filling in pretty well for AJ Green. Those numbers definitely will fall down once A.J. Green comes back because A.J. Green is Andy Dalton's guy. They have the most touchdowns and the most interceptions of any 1-2 combo right now in the league. That's his guy. He keys on him. So once he comes back, I think they said week 4, week 5, expect those numbers to drop off. And John Ross put up another big day, 4 catches, 112 yards, 1 touchdown. If he can stay healthy, he can have some of these numbers, going forward. But his problem has always been health. But he's going to be right around that, 3 to 5 catch range. And like I said, with Goodwin, hopefully he can turn them into big yardages and a touchdown. But his problem is always going to be health. And Tyler Eifert, maybe you streamed him, maybe you didn't. I'm still keeping an eye on him because of what he used to be in the past. But since those injuries have taken a toll on his body, he really hasn't been the same. But he had 3 catches for 9 yards and 1 touchdown. He's going to be extremely touchdown dependent. But in the red zone, he is a red zone beast. Or at least he used to be. And I'm still holding out hope that he can be in the future. All righty, let's go into the Colts at the Titans. Colts won this one 19-17. It was a Colts versus Texans game. I mean, it's played out the same way for 20 years, I feel like now. Jacoby Brissett went 17 of 28, 146 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an INT. I mean, I think that's really going to be what you're looking for now with him. I think that's what you're going to get week in and week out, unless they have a really good matchup where he just throws for 300 yards. But that's going to be really, matchup dependent. I think this is going to be his stat line rolling forward. So if you're in a pinch and you need a injury replacement for Drew Brees, or when we get to him, Big Ben, he's not gonna kill you, but I mean, you're not gonna get 40 points from him, I don't think. Rushing the ball, Marlon Mack had a slower week. He had 20 carries, 51 yards, no touchdowns. He added 2 carries for 12 yards and no touchdowns. With those 20 carries, you were hoping that he had a little bit more, but I think this might just be Tennessee's defense being, that good. And then receiving wise, we had T.Y. Hilton, 4 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown. I think he's going to be right around that, 4 to 8 catch radius now. It's going to be tough for him to get over 100 yards, but I do like that they're actually feeding him the ball, whereas last time Brissett was quarterback, it seemed like they were trying to hide Brissett. Maybe they're a little bit more comfortable with his development now. But I like that T.Y. is actually starting to get work now. And then Eric Ebron had 3 catches, 25 yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty much going to be Ebron now. He's not getting luck thrown to him, so pretty much that's going to be what you get. He's still going to be a red zone target because he's probably the biggest body they have now. That Funches is gone. He's really their only big body receiver. All the rest are kind of smaller guys. T.Y. Hilton's a little bit smaller. Chester Rogers a little bit smaller. Paris Campbell's a little bit smaller. So really him, Mo Alley Cox, and Jack Doyle are going to be the red zone guys for them. Let's look at the Tennessee Titans now. Mariota went 19 of 28, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. It's Mariota. What more can you say? He's always questionable, but that's about the stat line you're always going to get. Derrick Henry kind of had a slow day for recent Derrick Henry history. He had 15 carries, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. He did add 2 catches for 12 yards. That's really it. Nobody else really shined here. I mean, nobody went over 50 yards receiving. Nobody had more than 4 catches. Yeah, it was just a AFC South battle. I mean, they've kind of been boring. I don't know how else to say that. I mean, you get the occasional pop play like you did last year on the 99-yard touchdown. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty much the same game every year for these guys. All right, next game had pretty big news in it as well. Seattle at Pittsburgh. Andre's probably going to be crying tonight because not only did they lose, but Big Ben exited the game with a right shoulder or right elbow injury. MRI is to come, so we should know more tomorrow, the severity of his injury. But they were already having a rough week. It got even rougher. Not only did Big Ben go down, but James Conner went down as well with a knee injury. So, I mean, Juju owners, I'm sorry. James Conner owners, I'm sorry. Big Ben owners, I'm sorry. But it's going to be a rough year now. Mason Rudolph did step in pretty decently. He had, 12 completions, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. James Conner salvaged his day with a rushing touchdown, but unfortunately he only went 11 carries, 33 yards. And then he added 3 catches for 12 yards. He, coming off last year, we were expecting big things from him. We were expecting not necessarily for them to be the next killer bees where Big Ben AB and Lev Bell stood. Coming off last year, we were expecting, some pretty good things from these guys. We weren't expecting the killer B status with them, where AB, Lev Bell, and Big Ben stood, but we were expecting a little bit better than what we've gotten out of these guys recently. James Conner has had 2 lackluster games. Big Ben is now hurt. Juju Smith-Schuster only has 5 catches for 84 yards in this game. So, it's going to be a rough ride for these guys, especially if Big Ben, is out for the year. Mason Rudolph is a departure from him. But he probably has a little bit higher upside just because he's younger. He doesn't have all the wear and tear that Big Ben has. 'Cause Big Ben is closing in on that all-time sacked list, coming up on Brett Favre as being the quarterback to be sacked the most amount of times in a career. But if you started Vance McDonald this week, congratulations. 7 catches, 38 yards, and those 2 touchdowns. So look for Jalen Samuels, depending on the health of James Conner this week, for a waiver wire ad. But yeah, it's really going to be Big Ben is going to be the big news. And then we'll see how James Conner kind of progresses through the week. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and you can keep him. But if you do have him, look for Jalen Samuels. He did fill in pretty well last year when James Conner went down. And then on the Seattle side, you had Russell Wilson going 29 for 35, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Thank you for the fantasy help. Even though I'm still going to lose, you were like one of the only bright spots on my team this week, Russell. So thank you. On the rushing side, Chris Carson still led the backfield. Penny is closing in on him, though. Chris Carson went 15 carries, 60 yards, no touchdowns, but he did have a costly fumble. He did add 3 catches for 27 yards. Rashad Penny, like I said, is closing in on him. He had 10 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. And then he did add 1 catch for 3 yards. Lockett had a bounce-back game. He had 10 catches for 79 yards. You do like to see that. He had 12 targets this week, whereas last week he only had 2 targets. So I do like seeing that they're getting back to their roots where they're throwing him the ball. DK Metcalf had 3 catches, 61 yards, and his first touchdowns. Congratulations to that guy. And then if you started their tight end, Will Dissly, he had 5 catches, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So if you started him, congrats. Or if you're like the rest of everybody else who didn't start him because they don't really use their tight end, then yeah, he's still on the waiver wire. Don't expect this going forward from him. Alrighty, so next up is going to be Arizona at Baltimore. Dual threat quarterbacks dueling it out here. Kyler Murray looked a lot better than he did last week. Baltimore did end up winning the game 23-17. Kyler Murray had 25 of 40, 349 yards, but no picks, no touchdowns. David Johnson left the game injured, came back, though, kind of salvaged his day. He went 7 carries, 14 yards, 1 touchdown. He did add 1 catch for no yards, which doesn't help anybody. But he did salvage it with a touchdown. He's probably going to be, low-end RB1, high-end RB2 for you going forward. I don't see him, getting back to where he was 3 years ago before the injury, where he was flirting with 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. it's just who he is now. He's not the guy he used to be. Christian Kirk, though, had a breakout game, 6 catches, 114 yards, no touchdowns. And then the ageless wonder, I swear this guy is going to be playing until he is 70, Larry Fitzgerald. 5 catches, 104 yards. He had a long of 54, 11 targets on the day. I mean, he might be a guy you need to look into putting into your flex or streaming option because, I mean, this guy, Larry Fitzgerald, he's just an ageless wonder. What can I say about him? Lamar Jackson did come back down to earth, though, a little bit. He had 24 of 37, 272 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Didn't have 5. He only had 2. But, I mean, he killed it on the ground, especially because Mark Ingram was out. I think this is why he had such a big day. 16 carries, 120 yards. So, if you started him, congratulations. You probably won because I don't remember the last time a quarterback had 100 yards rushing. Mark Ingram, like I said, did leave the game with an injury. He did come into the day battling an injury as well. He went 13 carries for 47 yards, no touchdowns. He did add 2 catches for 30 yards. We'll see how he develops over the week. Hopefully he can stay healthy and come back in because, I mean, this is going to be a running offense. They're going to want to establish the run. They're going to want to run the ball, early and often. So having him in your backfield is definitely going to help if he can get back healthy. Hollywood Brown came down as well. He had 13 targets, which is surprising because last week he only had, 6. He did have 8 catches for 86 yards and a pretty beautiful over-the-shoulder catch on the sideline. And then Mark Andrews, like I said in our breakdown video, our breakdown podcast, he is going to lead this team in receiving yards. He had 8 catches, 112 yards, and 1 touchdown. So if he's still available in your league, pick him up, start him if you do, or flex him if you have one of, the Holy Trinity, who they're in a slump, but I think they'll come around. I'm hoping they come around because I have Ertz on all 3 of my leagues, so they better turn around. But if Mark Andrews is there, pick him up. Another AFC South battle, Jaguars at Houston. I was really intrigued with this game because of the matchup between Jalen Ramsey and DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins lost this one. Yeah. Even though his team won, he lost the matchup. Texans pulled this one out 13-12 on a Texans did win this one on a 13-12 when the Jaguars failed to convert a 2-point conversion. Deshaun Watson went 16 of 29, 159 yards, no TDs, no picks. He did have 4 carries for 5 yards and a touchdown, so he kind of salvaged his day there. Carlos Hyde had 20 carries for 90 yards. Didn't have any catches. And then Duke Johnson had 6 carries for 31 yards, and he didn't convert his only target on the day. So they're pretty even again. Well, actually, Carlos Hyde won this week. Last week, they were fairly even on touches. I think Duke Johnson did edge him out a little bit more. Will Fuller had 4 catches for 40 yards, no touchdowns. And like I said, DeAndre Hopkins lost the matchup, 5 catches for 40 yards. So Jalen Ramsey did win this one. They do have one more coming up. We'll see how that one turns out. But on the Jaguars side, I mean, if you're not rooting for Gardner Minshew, you need to. This guy got off the team plane looking like a 1980s porn star. He's not the quarterback we need, but he is the quarterback we want. Just look it up. Just look up the photo of him coming off the team plane. Like I said, porn stash, looked like a 90s or 80s porn star. It was pretty hilarious. But he can ball too. Now they're calling it Minshew Mania instead of Fitzmagic. He went 23 of 33, 213 yards, 1 TD, no pick. He did lead them to a potential game-winning touchdown drive. They just failed to convert that 2-point conversion to win the game. He also added 6 carries for 56 yards. I do see a quarterback controversy brewing down here. Even though they did pay Foles, Gardner Minshew is absolutely killing it. So we'll kind of see, where they're at in the league, in the standings, when that, I think it's week 8 or week 9 that Foles can come back. We'll see how they are. But, Minshew can ball. Fournette, unfortunately, lost them the game. All he had to do was extend the ball a little bit more to break the plane for the 2-point conversion. He only had 15 carries for 47 yards. No catches, though. Chris Conley led the team in receiving yards. 4 catches for 73 yards, no touchdowns. And I'll get his name right this time. DJ Chark, not Clark, Chark. I'm starting to like this guy a lot more. 7 catches, 55 yards, and a touchdown. I do like to see that the targets went up. Yardage went down quite a bit, but Gardner Minshew is looking for him now. So pick him up on the waiver wire. Pick Chris Conley up on the waiver wire. But I feel like Clark will definitely be the better of the two during the season. And then D.D. Westbrook, who is touted to be the number 1 receiver. Everybody was blowing up the connection between him and Foles. Only had 1 catch for 3 yards, so not so good for him. Maybe if Foles comes back, he can slot back up, but right now I believe it is going to be Chark. I do believe it is going to be Chark that is going to take over this receiving core. Man, Patrick Mahomes. This guy's something. Julian may have been right about the 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns again. Because, wow. He went 30 for 44, 443 yards, and 4 touchdowns. All 4 of his touchdowns were over 50 yards. They won this one pretty easily, 28-10. We're going to lose to them. They're going to win the division, and I hate them. And then we're going to get into the playoffs. We're going to travel to New England, and then we're going to lose to New England again. I hate football. Shady led the backfield in carries. He had 11 carries for 23 yards. Running backs didn't need to do anything in this game because, the receivers were just running all over the secondary for Oakland. DJ Williams had 9 carries for 8 yards. He did add 3 catches for 48 yards. Travis Kelce, though, finally one of the Trinity did something. 7 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Marcole Hardman. Marcole or Markel? Who knows? Marcole Hardman. Let's call him Marcole. 4 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. And then Demarcus Robinson, 6 catches, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is what we were expecting from Sammy Watkins, but only Watkins gave us 6 catches for 49 yards. So now, honestly, just pick up one of their receivers and play them, because they're just going to throw the ball to whoever's open, because all their dudes are speedy. All their dudes are fast. All their dudes get open. And the only one you can really trust is Kelsey. And I hate them. Raiders, on the other hand, Derek Carr went 23 of 38, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. Josh Jacobs is rounding into form as a number 1 back in the league. He had 12 carries for 99 yards. And he looked really good. Darren Waller is looking like he's going to be the go-to guy out there in Oakland. He had 6 catches, 63 yards, no touchdown. But then Tyrell Williams had 5 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown. So that's going to be your 1-2 combo there. If they're still available, pick them up. Carr threw for 4,000 yards last year, so those 4,000 yards have to go somewhere, and those are going to be your 2 main guys to catch the ball out of Oakland. And what a wild finish this next one had. Nothing happened all game, and then they decided to play football with like 4 minutes left. Chicago went to Oakland and won it on a nail-biter. Let's just say their kicking demons have been exercised, but the Chargers haven't. So we need to call them and see what the heck they did to fix their kicking problems. Because last year they had the double doink. I forget the name of their kicker last year, but he had a game where he hit the crossbar 4 times. So whatever they did to rid the locker room, the facilities, whatever it was of the bad juju to fix their kicking problems, Anthony Lynn, call them so we can get our kicking problems fixed. Please. Chicago won this one with time expiring 16-14 on a 53-yard field goal to win the game. The rest of the game was boring, and then the last 3-5 minutes was electric. Joe Flacco went 35 of 50, 292 yards, 1 TD, and 1 interception. Denver said that this backfield was going to be more of a timeshare, and it's shaping out to be more of a timeshare. Royce Freeman went 11 carries for 54 yards and added 5 catches for 48 yards. Philip Lindsay went 13 carries for 36 yards and added 4 catches for 30 yards. So, pretty even timeshare. We can continue to see this going forward. So instead of Philip Lindsay being a RB1 like we were expecting him to be, he's not going to be more than a flex now going forward. Same with Royce Freeman. We were only expecting him to be, a role player, a couple yards here or there, but he's actually developing into a flex player as well. Emmanuel Sanders, he went 11 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. He's looking good coming off of that injury. I expect him to be pretty much this. I mean, his whole career has been pretty good. He's going to be, our wide receiver 3 flex option. Cortland Sutton last week had a huge game this week. He kind of regressed a little bit. 4 catches for 40 yards. No touchdowns. Brandon McManus did have a missed field goal, though, which led them to a game-tying touchdown. Actually, they took the lead with that touchdown. And then Chicago, with 50 seconds left, drove down the field, kicked a field goal, won the game. So that's the exciting part. If you missed this game, I'm sorry. If you missed the last 5 minutes, I'm sorry. If you missed the first half, first 3 quarters, you're perfectly fine. Trubisky went 16 of 27, 120 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. David Montgomery looks like he's starting to take hold of this backfield. 18 carries, 62 yards, but there was a point where this offense was just stymied. They couldn't do anything, and actually had to turn to Cordero Patterson to kind of spark the offense. Used him like a running back like the Patriots did last year. But Montgomery did have a touchdown on the game, so he did save his week by scoring that touchdown. Allen Robinson did have a fallback, 4 catches, 41 yards, but led the team in targets and receptions, so still use him as your flex. He's going to be a wide receiver too, because he's going to be the number 1 option out there in Chicago. Alrighty, guys, that is all of the Sunday day games. Oh, wait, how can I forget? The Dolphins actually played. I thought it was just another bye week for the Patriots, because the Patriots easily won this one, 43-0. It's starting to get laughable now in Miami. Definitely taking for Tua. 2 weeks now, they've been outscored 102-10. You could probably drop all your Miami players next week. Pick up any Cowboys player you can find, play them, play their defense. Dak, Zeke, Pollard, Amari Cooper, Gallup, Jason Witten, Randall Cobb, their kicker, their backup kicker, their backup quarterback, any Cowboys player. This one was full of controversy, though, due to Antonio Brown actually playing this week. Tom Brady went 20 of 28, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Touchdown went to Antonio Brown, who finished the day with 4 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. He also did have a carry for 5 yards. But there's some interesting news. There's reports that he had missed his availability for the media after the game, and that he kind of went MIA. I'm not going to comment on this yet because I haven't done all of the research on it. But Thursday, I know for sure, when the Slumpbuster podcast, when they do that recording, they're going to touch on that. So look for that news there. Like I said, I'm not going to really comment on it now. I haven't done all the research on it, but early reports are he missed media availability to answer questions after the game, and he went MIA after the game as well. He is from Miami, so he could have just went somewhere with his family. But yeah, he's Antonio Brown show goes on, so tune in to the Antonio Brown show with Juju and Dre coming up later this week, because we said we'd stop talking about him, but he's back in the news again, so just look for it there. Sony Michel did have 21 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Tom Brady also, did his Tom Brady thing and had that quarterback sneak at the, 2-inch line that he always does for a touchdown. Julian Edelman had 4 catches for 51 yards. And then James White had 3 catches, 19 yards, and a touchdown. He also added 3 carries for 10 yards. And like I said, Philip Dorsett and Josh Gordon are going to take the biggest hits. Dorsett had 3 catches for 39 yards. Josh Gordon only had 2 catches for 19 yards. So depending on Antonio Brown, what the heck's going on with him, expect Josh Gordon and Philip Dorsett to take a hit. If AB doesn't end up playing, look for Gordon and Dorsett to kind of boost themselves back up. But yeah, next week, just fade the Dolphins all year. They might be the third team to go 0-16 because they're that bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick went 11 completions for 21 attempts, 89 yards, 3 picks. Josh Rosen didn't fare any better. He went 7 completions for 18 attempts, 97 yards, and a pick. Kenyon Drake had 6 carries for 19 yards. It's just Preston Williams is probably going to be the only guy to own on this. He had a touchdown last week. This week he had 4 catches for 63 yards. But you just can't trust anybody on this Miami team. But the defenses that play these guys are going to benefit because New England had 2 pick sixes. They had 4 interceptions as a team. Next week, Dallas is going to be the same. The week before, Baltimore's defense killed it against them. So whatever defense is playing Miami, start that defense, start any of the players that are going up against Miami because it's starting to get laughable now for the Dolphins. And it's going to get even more laughable because they allowed Mika Fitzpatrick to start talking to teams about a trade. So their defense is going to get even worse if that's possible. All right, so the Sunday night game just finished up, so let's kind of go through that now. Falcons did end up pulling this one off 20-24 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Carson Wentz did leave the game briefly for concussion protocol. Looks like he passed it, so nothing too worrisome with him. But they did lose every skill player today. Alshon Jeffrey went out with a calf injury. Dallas Goedert went out with a calf injury. Deshaun Jackson went out with a groin injury. So I'm going to have to eat my words here. I was telling everybody to play D-Jax because he has a higher ceiling, and then he goes ahead and leaves the game without a catch, without a target. So for all those people I told to play Deshaun Jackson, I'm sorry. I am a man of my word, though. I did play him in one of my leagues as well, so I feel your pain on that one. Carson Wentz went 25 of 43, 231 yards, 1 TD and 2 picks. He did add 3 carries for 3 yards and a touchdown on the ground, so it kind of helped his numbers. He had a pretty average week for quarterbacks. Miles Sanders is starting to take hold of this backfield. 10 carries for 28 yards. He also added 3 catches for 9 yards. Jordan Howard had 8 carries for 18 yards and added 1 catch for 8 yards. So, like I've been saying all year, Sanders is going to take over this backfield. It's just a matter of time. Just look for him. So Jordan Howard owners, if you can find a trade partner for him, get him out of there, because I feel like, look, they already tried trading him away, so they already know they don't want him. Sanders is their future. Jordan Howard is not. So if you can find a trade partner, find a trade partner. Nelson Aguilar benefited from Deshaun Jackson being out. He had 8 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. If Deshaun Jackson does miss time, Nelson Aguilar is going to be the guy to own. Look for him on the waiver wire. I don't believe anybody owns him because he did fall down the depth chart. But if Deshaun Jackson is gone, he's going to be the beneficiary of that. Zach Ertz went 8 catches for 72 yards. I mean, one of the top 3 tight ends. He should be, killing it, but he's not, and he's killing my fantasy teams. He just needs to have a good game. He's killing me. God damn it. Freaking Eagles. On the other side of the ball, Matt Ryan went 27 of 43, 320 yards, 3 TDs, and 3 interceptions. It seems like this is just going to be Matt Ryan's life now. And he had a couple interceptions last week. He saved it with a couple touchdowns towards the end of the game. Same thing this time. Devontae Freeman still, I'm not too sure if it's just game script with these guys or what's going on, but he had 11 carries for 22 yards last week. He didn't have much rushing the ball either. He also added 3 catches for 42 yards. It's looking like it's going to be a split backfield, 60-40 with him and Ito Smith. Ito Smith had 4 carries for 32 yards, added 2 catches for 13 yards. So Freeman is going to drop from a RB1, RB2 to a flex play now. He was drafted a little bit higher, so sorry for all those people that drafted him. Julio Jones, though, had 5 catches, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. He actually had the game-winning touchdown tonight as well. And then Calvin Ridley had 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. It looks like he did supplant Mohamed Sanu as the actual number 2, whereas last year they kept flip-flopping. This year it actually seems like he is the number 2 to Julio's number 1. So he'll still be a flex option going forward. Still can't trust him just yet, but decent flex option there for you guys. Monday night game, Jets are probably going to lose. Their quarterback is out with mono. Who knows why he got it? I do love the theory that the Patriots infected Demaryius Thomas before they traded him, and then Demaryius Thomas went up to Sam Darnold and said, "What's up?" and then transferred it to him, and now he has it. So, who knows what actually happened, but he has mono. So, look for Jamison Crowder to have a hit. Look for Lev Bell to have a little bit more opportunity, because Trevor Siemian does like to dump the ball off. Robbie Anderson is going to take a hit as well. They did say Sam Darnold should come back after the bye week, week 5, where all those guys will have their normal plays. And then Cleveland looks to bounce back. Baker looks to bounce back. Odell, Jarvis, and Chubb all look to bounce back. Hopefully they can. A lot of people had big things for them. They're overhyped. We'll kind of see what happens. But I do think Cleveland should get back to, Cleveland that they are hyped up to be, especially since they should be running all over the Jets this week. So we're going to get into some waiver wire targets out there. All right, so now that Big Ben and Drew Brees are both hurt, Look for Andy Dalton and Josh Allen, and even Gardner Minshew. For relief, a lot of those guys are still out there on the waiver wire. Still can't really trust Jameis too much yet. Andy Dalton does play Buffalo next week. Josh Allen plays Cincinnati. Not too terrible matchups for those guys. I can see them both getting right around 20 to 25 points. And then Jacksonville plays Tennessee on Thursday. Minshew is he's a baller, so he can put up some points against them. On a short week, they might not have enough time to prepare for everything for him, so he might be able to ink out about 20 points. I don't really see him putting up too much against that team. And that's really it. Oh, you might, Mitchell Trubisky against Washington. Maybe Jameis. If you're in a bad spot, a lot of quarterbacks are picked up just based off matchup. They play the Giants. Jameis might be, fourth option. Don't put him at number one, but fourth option if you need quarterback help for next week. Running back wise, Carlos Hyde really is the only available. You might have Peyton Barber or Ronald Jones available in your leagues. You might want to look for them. But really, Gus Edwards, if Mark Ingram does miss time, and then if Joe Mixon does miss time or James Conner misses time, you're going to look for Giovanni Bernard or Jalen Samuels. Those are going to be the running backs to look up for next week, or one of the trio in San Francisco, Burrito, Wilson, or Mostert. Receiver-wise, look for Nelson Aguilar to fill in for Deshaun Jackson if he can't come back from that hamstring injury. Those tend to linger, especially in those speed guys, so he might miss a week or two. Nelson Aguilar will be the fill-in. He had a really good game tonight for the Eagles. Also look for Deebo Samuel or Marquise Goodwin. And then I'm still very high on this guy, DJ Chark Jr. in Jacksonville. He's only owned in 12% of all of the Yahoo leagues. So he is still out there. He's still available. He's looking like he's going to be the guy in Jacksonville. On the tight end side, Vernon Davis. If Jordan Reed is still hurt, still in the concussion protocol, look for Vernon Davis to still be a streaming option. Really, other than that, that's about it. You can't really stream anybody else. Chris Herndon might be somebody to key on once he comes back from suspension. He did start to turn it on a little bit towards the end of last year. But now they have Demaryius Thomas, so he might drop down a little bit more. They also have Jameson Crowder, who's been working that middle of the field, but he might be a streaming option just because the tight end position is so lackluster. Also, maybe take a flyer on Jason Witten. He'll get 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown, especially since they're playing Miami next week. He's going to be the guy to, if you need a tight end, just because they're playing Miami, look for him. And then defensive-wise, just pick the Cowboys. I mean, they're playing Miami. What more can I say about that? And that's going to be it for me today, folks. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep because the Chargers lost. I'll cry myself to sleep because my mom beat me in fantasy football today. I lost pick'ems. It was just a bad game. So I'm going to go cry myself to sleep. Hopefully I can have a better week next week. We'll be coming out with the week 3 rankings as well on Wednesday. Also, add us on Instagram at the Slumpbuster Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Slumpbuster Pod, at Slumpbuster FFB. Check out the website, theslumpbuster.com. Also, check us out on Facebook. Sunday mornings, we also run Twitter and Facebook and Instagram questions for lineup help. And we can also do trade analysis during the week. So send us all those during the week. Send us your funny names as well in your leagues. As always, like, rate, review, subscribe, share, all those things you need to do to podcasts to help us grow. Thanks for listening. See you next week, guys.